everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited today to have Kelsey Chittick on the show. She's a comedian and she is author of Second Half, Surviving Loss and Finding Magic in the Missing.
Yes.
It's a book about her husband that had passed away, Nate Hobgood Chittick. He was an ex-NFL player, and we will dive into her book in a bit. But first, I just want to say how happy I am to have you on the show.
It's so good to be here. I feel like we started a friendship and then COVID hit 2 years and then nobody saw each other.
Yeah, I saw you at that baby shower.
The first one?
The first one. And then the next time I saw you was
another baby shower.
For the same person.
Oh, you're right. I never thought of that. One was in the woods.
Yes.
And one was in Austin.
Can we talk about that first baby shower? Because we actually never have. I want to hear it from your perspective because I know for a fact other people were thinking the same thing. But everyone was so nice. No one said anything. And Chelsea and I just kept looking at each other.
Yeah.
Like.
So I had just met this group of girls. Like I just joined this kind of new crowd for me. Very kind, spiritual, connected to nature, wonderful people. Very different from people I had known prior to Nate dying and kind of that whole experience. And so one of our friends, she was pregnant, and I said, I want to do something for you. And she said, I've already got a group of friends doing it. And I said, wonderful. She said, let's just get in touch with you. I'll put you in touch. So I've done a lot of baby showers. I come from the South. I went to school in North Carolina. We crush baby showers, but they're very uptight. They have like pimento cheese sandwiches. Everybody has like a list of a to-do, and everything's done very early, and everyone's very stressed, and it's very uptight, and everyone wears like Lily Pulitzer.
Okay.
This was a little bit different.
Yeah, this was weird.
Starting with, if you're listening and this was your baby shower or it was your house, just know we're not meaning it to you exactly, but we are. No, I'm just kidding.
We love you.
Different.
Amazing. Okay,
It was
women,
amazing.
you got amazing. You're amazing. But there was something.
There was
off.
procedural issues.
Yes.
There was procedural issues.
Yes.
Starting with the fact that it was inside a forest, but none of us knew that. So in our minds, a bunch of us got there to help set up, and we thought that this was going to be like a baby shower inside, where you have like a buffet and people sit around and talk, and you do a couple blessings. Nope. We built a bridge by hand.
My husband was like cutting down trees.
I just didn't. We got there. There was no idea what was happening. There was cats everywhere. We had to walk like half a mile to get to this open field that had nothing in it. And I think we built the table from the ground up, and then we used all of nature, which is beautiful. But I never had this experience where we had to pull flowers and leaves, and then we dressed the table, and that's all well and good. I just wasn't prepared because I was in like 6-inch heels.
Yeah. Okay. Intentions are always good, right? And you're completely right about procedural, because for me, in life, I go for ease.
Right.
I mean, we're all really busy. We're all entrepreneurs.
Right.
We all have our own companies. And this baby shower seemed like, how can we make this as difficult as possible?
How can we actually do everything that causes us pain, suffering, exhaustion, and sweating?
It would just seem so difficult. I was like, what is going on?
But it was beautiful.
It looked good. The photos were great.
This is what
you never know.
You would never know. And that always reminds me to remember that, because the pictures were stunning. The background was stunning. The baby mama is stunning.
Yes.
The whole experience was great. It was just, if you had seen the behind the scenes and the eye rolls that we were giving each other, because we didn't have that information going into it. There was a misinformation.
It was, but the thing is,
that's when I really got to know you. And I was like, do I talk shit now? I don't know her that well.
I said, thank you.
Or do I wait? And I was like, what the F is going on? She was like, I'm with you. And I was like, okay, we're friends.
Well, because I didn't want to feel like asshole. I know for a fact everyone else thought that. The thing is, I've worked in events for over 15 years, and I know that as soon as it becomes a thing with the formalities, it's not fun for anybody.
Exactly.
And you weren't there because you had left already.
Good, smart move by me.
The baby mama, after everyone left and it was more chill and it was just like her besties around, she's like, okay, now we can relax and have a good time.
Yes.
That's the truth.
Right.
That's the feeling that you want. As soon as, and it's always good intentions, but when you try to make it a thing and it feels forced, it always turns out like that.
It was an interesting experience. I laughed about it for a really long time.
I
and
have PTSD.
I do.
I seriously, I was like, I do not want to plan another baby shower. I think I can with you because the way we approach
very minimal.
ease, just like, is there food? Music, tables,
done, and
cool.
like in and out an hour and a half. And it's all ready when people arrive.
Yes,
that's the other thing. Like I don't like to go to parties where it's like the host isn't showered yet when you arrive, and you're like, why am I here? Why am I here right now? Why did I come now? If you're just now like getting organized, like and I'm uptight and I have a lot of problems. This is true, but yeah, I don't like working with people. I don't like that flow. I like to be like, ta-da.
Yeah.
Here we go.
The thing is, you can have the same result.
Exactly.
Just as good of a party, or maybe even better, without having all that.
Totally.
And I think some people, they feel like things have to be stressful or a thing to be significant. I think that's part of it.
It's actually a very good, like if it's not hard, is it worth doing?
Exactly.
Does it mean something?
Exactly.
Did you try hard enough? Yes.
Yes. And so because I photographed so many weddings for so many years, when it came time for my wedding, I knew to get the same result as some of these other people, I didn't have to go through what they want.
100%.
You know, I'm like, as long as there's dress photographs well, I don't care how much it costs. If it photographs well, I don't give a shit.
Right.
And then, venue, all that, as long as there's food, my friends are there. And same with your wedding. You talked about your wedding.
In the book, yep.
In the book. And it sounded ease.
I think as we get older, ease and joy are the light posts that we're all walking towards, because it's day-to-day life in your 30s and 40s is hard enough that you really don't need. I think in your 20s you like try to do stuff because you don't have anything else to do. You're just like, oh, I'm going to make a huge weekend with like a theme. Now you're like, I just want everyone to be quiet and just sit down. That's it. Could that be our weekend? Could we just shut the fuck up and sit down? Like, that's our wild weekend, please. Like, and can we get coffee and can we all go to the bathroom? Can everybody somehow make sure they use the bathroom? Like, does it get any better than that at this point in life? So I think that's where we are. And I think I talk about that a lot in the book, is we create a lot of drama for ourselves and that we don't need.
Yeah.
And you don't know that until you get to a point where you have too much drama in your life and everything falls apart and you go, oh, I have to change everything. And so I think that's why we both like things to be calmer.
Yeah.
Because there's so much not calm.
Yes.
Why make yourself get into a tizzy over a baby shower?
No, that's what I feel. Yeah. And it's same when it goes to personal relationships too, like husband, your partner, your core friend group, because life is there's just so much going on. I'm like, I don't need my core friends and my partner to be the source of that.
No. It's funny too with friends. I think you get to a point, and I think all of us, you have huge groups in your 20s, and then even for those of us that had kids that became friends with other parents because we needed that group, you have huge groups, and then as you get older, it just gets smaller and smaller and more intimate and more comfortable. And I mean, I say the worst thing, and I know this is like totally anti what people say, but I'm like, team set, tryouts are over. Like, you have your people that you really count on at this point.
Yeah.
And many of them have been with you for a long time, but it's not that I don't like to make new friends. I love to, but they have to bring peace.
Yes.
Or fun. Peace or fun.
Yeah.
I need more fun friends. I guess I'm not fun, but yeah.
You are fun. I laugh.
Funny, not fun. There's a big difference.
Okay.
I'm not fun, but I'm working on it.
How do you become more fun and playful? What are some things that you do?
Drugs. No, I'm just kidding. I don't do drugs. For me, meditation helps, because I know this is counterintuitive, but when I can get quiet and get all the anxiety to kind of go away, then I'm more open to saying, I can let go here. This doesn't need to be scary. Like, I went to Costa Rica and I would have never ziplined 4 years ago. Just like too dangerous. I would have been like, let me check the ropes, and that tree looks like the branch is going to, just so much. No. And I think what's happened is, as I've gone through something really hard, I now can tell what really is to be afraid of and what isn't. And making up that that everything's dangerous or everything's too much or everything's, inappropriate that I would normally not do. Now I'm like, go for it. Like, you've already made it through things. Yeah. Chances of this happening are rare. Or like I tell people, like, what everyone says, 99% of the worst things that happen to you never happen, that you're worried about happening never happen. And I'm like, well, all of mine did. And I'm still here.
Yeah.
And I'm doing fine.
Okay. I can see how that could be a confidence booster, right?
Well, it's freedom. It's freedom that you go, wow, I actually like everything that and there's been a couple other things over the past couple of years that were just, the one things you don't want to happen. And they happened. And I am more joyful now than I've ever been, because when the bottom's low, the high is so high.
This is true. Okay, so can we dive into your
Sure.
book a little bit? Actually, first, I didn't know you're from Winter Park.
Yes.
It's so cute there.
How do you know Winter Park?
Someone told me I was in Orlando, and
Sorry about that.
I actually like Orlando.
It's amazing.
And they recommended, like, you should go to Winter Park. There's a ton of cute boutiques and restaurants.
Park Avenue.
Yes,
Rollins
the cobbles.
College.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah. See, I told you I had a perfect life, and then shit hit the fan. No, Winter Park is an amazing place. It's like Santa Barbara. It feels like Santa Barbara.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
If anyone out there is listening, if you go to Orlando, make sure, and you're not at the theme parks. By the way, I actually do like the theme parks.
I actually grew up. I mean, I remember when we were kids, you could buy an annual pass for like $50, which was probably a lot back then. Like, I don't know what that would work, but we used to drive there just for dinner. It was just really fun, and it wasn't as crazy as it is now. But I do love a good park.
Oh, you do? For some reason, I thought you wouldn't like theme parks.
I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I don't want to go with my kids, and like, but I would go like on my own. When I liked it when I was a kid. I don't say I love it now. They're too crowded. It's too much. I mean, for me, it's just, and
it costs like $900.
Yeah, and you're like, have fucking fun. We just have fun. And the kids are like, but we're tired. I'm like, you're not tired. You're a loser. We're staying until the end of the fireworks. And the kids are like, you see the kids just like in the strollers just falling apart. And the parents are like, this is our whole, every penny we ever had. So I don't know. That's why I think the annual passes are good. But anyway, back to Winter Park.
Okay. So anyways, it's super cute. So I learned you're from Winter Park.
Yes.
That's so awesome. And you met your husband in college.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. So you were together for a long time, over 20 years.
Yes.
So I love talking to people who have been married a long time because I've been with Pete for almost 6 years. We've been married for 3, but I feel like you know what's up.
Yes.
Like, we talked about the realities of like sex when you're married. Like,
so sad.
Like, I used to talk to my marriage friends, and that's what I'm like, is that really?
You judge them when it's not you. You're like, not going to be me.
Right. You're like, really?
Yeah, it will be.
Like, like, you don't like to give blowjobs anymore. And
oh God.
Right?
The thought of blowing someone you're married to is so repulsive. It's so just, it's like, it's too much. It's inappropriate.
No, something happens because a lot of us, like, I used to love doing it. And a lot of my female friends, like, when we were single and dating.
The first 3 weeks.
And then all of a sudden, it just doesn't become appealing.
Oh, because all of a sudden you realize what you're doing. Like, and you're like, oh my God.
What's the point?
Well, it just seems so dirty and so inappropriate and so uncalled for when you're married. You're like, you want me to do what? With that? Never. I mean, I'm always like, find someone. Don't you have a friend or a masseuse that could take care of this? Like, I have got other things. But it's funny when you're dating, and I'm dating now, boy, is it wonderful. It's like your brain totally doesn't care. You think it's brilliant. Wonderful. I wonder, maybe I'll make an experiment to see when it switches. Is it like one day that you're like, nope? Or is it a gradual burn that all of a sudden you're like, we've watched too many Netflix together for me to do that anymore?
I would be interested to know, because Pete is my longest so far. So.
And there's no more blowjobs.
It has to be like
hammered.
A special occasion, and also with like the sex positions.
Yes.
You tend to just do the same position.
100%.
And it takes a lot of effort to do something special.
To get back on top is like, why now? Why? I remember, I don't know what type of podcast this is, but we're going to go ahead and go for it. But I remember I used to always be like, Nate, you can go ahead and finish. And he's like, no. And I'm like, no, please. He's like, I just got here. I'm like, that's the point. Like, if we could keep this under 3 minutes, like, I would be much more open to doing it more than once a month, but right now, this is all I can give you. Oh, it's
I think more people need to talk about this, because a lot of people think something's wrong if, like, oh my gosh, we're not doing it. Like, they say the average is twice a week. If we're not doing it twice a week.
Everyone freaking lies. Nobody's doing it. And if they are, it's either because they've scheduled it and they just do it, and it's not really good sex. It's just like a connection, which is fine, but that's married sex. It's like, we haven't been naked. Like, I haven't seen you naked. And it's so awkward to start when you're married. You're like, how are we going to start? You're like, it's Tuesday at 11. Like, what are we going to do? And they're like, well, we have to do it. It's like power washing the driveway. You're like, we've got to do it today. or the driveway is just going to go to shit. And you're like, all right. And you like get naked. And then afterwards you're like, it wasn't bad. It was a rough start, but it was okay once we were in it.
Yes. No, it's true. A lot of one of my girlfriends said, because the other night she did have like really connected, mind-blowing sex with her husband. They must have like fought or something, and everything's good.
Drugs.
But she's like,
Yeah.
I would rather have sex like that
100%.
once a month or once every 3 months than regularly have it, and it's just like
to lay
whatever
there like
sex.
Yeah, I agree. And we talk about that though. So like, this is such a great book. This is such a great topic that has nothing to do with grief, and I've never been happier. It's interesting because losing your spouse when you're 40. So I'd been with him for 21 years. And I remember, this is not in the books. This is what do you call it when it's an extra chapter? But I remember right afterwards being like, I've got to get over the hump, literally, because I had only slept with one person before my husband. I met him when I was 19. And I grew up, I thought all my friends, they were all Christian, and they said they were not having sex till they were married. I wasn't Christian. I grew up very spiritual, but I didn't want to be different. Then I got back from college, and all those bitches were like, we've been having sex since 9th grade. And I was like, you horse. Like, I only have one. I've got one in the belt. And you girls, all these sorority girls slept with so many people. So when Nate died, I was like, what am I going to do? I don't even know what to do. I don't know. And so I can't tell the story, but because there's too many names that would be recognized by people that I don't. But I made a decision that like, I'm going to have sex. Like, I've got to get out there. I've got to rip the Band-Aid off. And I wish I could tell the whole story, but it's just, I found someone who was just like a general contractor that was going to work on my house.
You did
Don't
that.
put that. It's so bad.
You did that.
But let me tell you something. There's something about a man with a tool belt that smells like your car, and you're just like, okay. But I remember thinking like, I didn't know how to, when you've been in a relationship so long, you don't know how to be free anymore.
Yeah.
You don't know how to, there's so many things you don't know how to do anymore because you've been in a marriage which is very secure and loving and friendship and like everything you want. But the one thing it isn't is you're not nervous. You're not excited. You're not worried. You want to look good, but mostly for you. You're not like, I hope he likes me tonight in this dress.
Right.
You're actually like, don't touch me. Don't get any ideas because of this dress.
Okay. So, I need to shift gears because I'm
not
so
gonna
sorry. I'm
bother.
still in giggly mode, and
We don't
when
need
I
to shift gears.
okay. Well, when I read your book, I cried.
Yes.
I cried a lot, and it's one of my biggest fears. I've actually never lost anyone close to me before, so I don't know what it's like, but it is one of my biggest fears. And I had known that your husband had passed, but I didn't know the details of it. And in the book, you tell the story of what happened and all that, and your kids and all that. And I was crying. My husband's like, "Are you okay?"
I know.
I'm like, oh my gosh. So you don't have to go into detail, but your husband died of a heart attack. It was sudden.
Yes. So my husband, we met in college at University of North Carolina. I swam. He was a football player, and he went on to play 6 years in the NFL. He won a Super Bowl, and we had a great life. We had 2 kids. At the time that he died, they were 9 and 12, and he, from all accounts, was healthy, except there's other parts to it that he was from football, some other stuff with his brain. But we had a really good life, and he was a big guy. He was 6'5", like 280 most of his life. And basically for a couple years before, I knew something was off, like intuition-wise. I could feel like something wasn't right with us, but I had a ton of anxiety around it. And it was around travel. And I just struggled leaving the kids and leaving my husband, and I just kept feeling like something bad was going to happen. But I talked to other moms, and they're like, well, everybody feels that way when they travel. But I had a huge foreboding. It was like really big, like I couldn't shake it. Like when you know something's coming and you need to prepare for it. Long story short, we read a book called The Code of the Extraordinary Mind by Vishen Lakhiani, and it kind of changed the way we looked at everything. And we ended up passing this book around our group, and then one of the guys Tony reached out to Vishen, and we ended up getting an opportunity for one of my best friends and myself to go to a fest in Jamaica. And I didn't want to go because I didn't want to leave the kids. And it was like Jamaica, and I was like, there's murders there. Like, I'm not going there. Like, bad things happen. And my husband was like, you have to go. Like, you're so afraid. Like, you've been so scared for so long. Like, it's time for you to go and like live life and stop being so uptight. Like, he was the happiest, most like fun, outgoing, joyful human being you would ever meet. Like, he would be the opposite of an anxious person. Just happy, loved everybody. Opposite of me. Never talk shit about anybody. I can't say a nice thing about anyone. No,
That's why you're good.
Yeah.
You're a good fit.
And so he just said, you need to go. And so I went to Jamaica on this kind of spiritual retreat, this weekend retreat. And we don't need to get into all this, but I had an amazing weekend, and we had all these speakers that were just incredible. Wim Hof, Marissa Peer, Stephen Kotler, like just amazing, Jim Quick, amazing people. And I remember feeling like, oh, I'm okay. Like I'm okay. But I also was like, God, all these people have been through really hard things. And I had been through nothing. I grew up just a very good life. I mean, I don't know how to say it. It was good. And the last day we were going to go onto a boat ride. And I went to get my phone, which I hadn't had the whole time, which was unlike me. And I saw some numbers come through, and I was like, I'm not going to pick up. And then my husband's best friend called and said, call us ASAP. So I called back, and my husband's best friend is actually married to my childhood best friend. It's very complicated, but it really worked out well. And then the death thing has really caused a snafu. But she called and she said, hey, Nate took the kids to Sky Zone Trampoline Park. And let me just sidebar that, like, I'm a comedian. Most of my time prior to this, I was doing stand-up. And the fact that my husband took the kids to Sky Zone, which is the most disgusting, like, trampoline park it's just nasty. It's little kids, chicken fingers, and like people bouncing on trampolines together. It just, nobody would go there unless they had to. And the fact that my husband decided on a Saturday morning that he was just going to get up with his 2 children and drive to Torrance and jump on a public trampoline park is mind-blowing to me. But I do feel like it's kind of his last joke to me. So long story short, my girlfriend called and said he had a seizure, or they don't know what, but he fell at the trampoline park. But it's fine. Go have fun. Smoke some weed. Enjoy your trip. And my whole body was like, he's gone. He's gone. And my friends were like, this is what you do. We're so tired of it. And I was like, pack my bags, get me ready. And we were I wanted to get home. Even if he was just sick, I didn't know. I wanted to get home to my kids. And we got into a cab. We packed up all my stuff. And then as we were driving from the hotel in Jamaica to the airport, the doctor called and he just said, I'm so sorry. Your husband didn't make it. He died of a massive heart attack. We tried everything and he's dead. And so it gets me every time. That one gets me to stop laughing. So that was kind of a huge turning point. It was the turning point. And it turned out that he, looking back, he had just gone with the kids and checked in, and they jumped for about 5 minutes. And he was wearing the orange sticky socks, which I find is just the most ridiculous thing to die in. But he would have loved it. It would have been a nod to me. He told the kids, he was like, I love you guys so much. And my daughter said, like, hey, Daddy, watch me. And he's like, you're so amazing. And then he said, guys, I need to sit down. And then he just dropped in front of them and he died. And they didn't know at the time, but because they moved the kids out, but they did defibrillator. They tried, the paramedics came, everybody tried, and he didn't make it. So he was 42 and my kids were 9 and 12. And that's kind of when everything changed. And the irony of it being when I was at that retreat and that I wasn't there. I know I wasn't there for a reason. Oh, he also died on 11/11 at 11. And we were a very spiritual couple and we believed in a lot of everything. And that's like a spiritual portal. Like 11/11's when supposedly angels come and go. And so that gives me great peace. But yeah, that was, I remember when I remember being like, oh shit, this is the call that people get. This is what you see on like CSI or like in the movies. This is like, oh, this happens, because nothing had happened like that to me. And I just remember thinking, this is the moment. This is the moment that we all are afraid of. This is your worst nightmare. The person you love that you are going to spend your life with or your child is gone. And the book is about kind of that's the middle of the book. So the first part is us falling in love in our life, and then the middle of the book is Nate dying, and then the rest of the book is how the hell we climbed out of it. Out of it is how we learned to swim in it, maybe. So that's that. Yeah.
And with grief, how did you react initially? Because I know people have different ways to process grief. Like, did you freak out right away when the doctor told you that?
It's funny because, and we can talk about plant medicine at a different point, but I didn't remember a lot of that day for a long, long time. I know when I got the call, it's surreal. Like, it's like, I remember saying to Toby and Michelle, he's dead, like that. Like, he's dead. Like, what the fuck? Almost like you'd say, like, that fucking guy just cut me off. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's how I was. I was like, he's dead. He's dead. Like, I can't explain how it was. And then when I got to the airport and I was trying to get on the plane to my kids, then I went, what I would feel would be like a mental breakdown. Like, I would assume, it's just like, I remember seeing people like, you'll watch a war and you'll see a woman being dragged off whose husband's been killed and she's just hysterical. That was me. But it felt like I was floating above me, watching me be hysterical. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It just feels surreal. Like, you can't believe it's happening. But it's happening, but there's no, and it goes back to our brains. There's just no neural pathways that understands a world without them in it. And your brain has never even acclimated to the idea that they're not in the world and a part of your life. So it feels like a wiring issue in your brain that you can't make sense of it. It's a horrible feeling.
Oh man. And I imagine, it's one thing to process it within yourself. You have 2 kids.
That's the worst part. I think when your kids are in pain and there's something you can't fix, especially for our culture that loves to fix kids and loves to make them happy all the time and loves to keep them from any pain. And, obviously we've done thousands of books and podcasts about just this helicopter parenting and this saving kids from anything that hurts. It's a huge disservice. And you see why it is, because I can see my kids now. And what happens when kids are allowed to go through hard things that you couldn't change and you can't stop and you can't fix and you can't make it better is one of the most beautiful and painful things you will ever do. But my kids are different now. They're cooler. They're more empathetic. They're wiser. They have had to think deeply about what they feel spiritually about death and what does that mean to them. And they've had to think about religion and what religion speaks to them when it comes to understanding this. We all have all 3 of us believe totally differently in my home. And they're always like, oh God, not your idea again, Mom. I'm like, sorry, it works for me. But we talk a lot about just how different people grieve. And watching the kids still gives me shivers. Like, some nights, so we're almost 4 years out. Some nights I go in bed and I can cry thinking about it right now. Like, I'm just like, oh, thank you, God, it's not like that anymore. Like, thank you, God, that we aren't in that tragic first year where it just feels like the pain is too big, And so when you're on the other side of that pain, it feels like you're high on life because you're like, we did it. My kids did it, and we're okay, and we're thriving, and Nate still lives alive in our home, and he's talked about hourly. And by me, my kids are like, are you ever going to let this story go? I'm like, nope, riding it out, guys. But it's amazing too how kids move forward, and they want to move on, and they want to be okay, and they don't want it to be their story. It's a part of their story, but they've taught me so much about like just everything. Yeah. But I say this in the book, like, I wouldn't change it for anything because I love my life and I love my kids and my husband, but I would not wish that having your dad die in front of your kids is just it's not what you want. Not ideal. Not ideal.
You said that in the beginning you did try to want to fix or help your kids, and eventually you realize I need to just give them space.
Yeah, it took a long time.
Yeah. Was there a moment where that shifted, or was that gradually over time?
It was gradually over time. I think even if you read in some of the first chapters, how I spoke to them was very much like positive. And I wouldn't change that. I was like, your dad was amazing. You know, he was the best father and he wouldn't have left us. I had a lot of directives towards them on how I wanted them to believe this experience. And I wouldn't change that because I do think as a parent, you do give the narrative. As they get older, they can choose the narrative, but I was definitely going to control the narrative in that moment. I wasn't going to be like, we're screwed. I miss it. So I was really clear on that. As we moved through our grief, I realized that what I was doing every time they said they were sad and I was telling them, but don't forget you had the best dad. I wasn't validating any part of who they were or what their process was because I so badly just wanted to make sure they were okay and make it better. And eventually as they got older, because they were 9 and 12 when he died, but when they got to be, 11 and 13, they were like, Mom, it's not okay that he died. It's not okay. It's not okay that we saw our father die. It's not okay that we got locked in a stinky, birthday party room at Sky Zone. It's not okay that we didn't get to say goodbye to him. It's not okay that he was purple when we looked at him and he was seizing and he had foam out of his mouth. None of that's okay. Like, you can't keep telling us it's okay. And I think the first year for me, I was in go mode to just survive financially, emotionally, spiritually. Second year, you're just shot. You're just broken. You're tired. People care, but people have gone on. You are now in a fight for your life and your joy. And that's when I realized, oh, I can't make this better. Like, it sucks. I don't have my husband. I don't have a dad for my kids. I don't know what we're going to do with our life. And so that's when I started to lean on Buddhist books even more than I had and really lean on some practices and some actual tools. And that's when I started to let them be, because I realized that's actually what meditation is about. That's what surrender is about. That's what accepting what is about. And when you stop pushing against something, it gives. So whenever you're up against something, you actually have something to fight. But when you kind of drop back and say, it is what it is, the power goes away. And so the kids are the ones who taught me that, because when I finally got it, that they just wanted me to be quiet, our life changed.
Do they ever come to you and ask for specific things that they need?
No.
No.
I wish I could tell you. No, they're 13 and 16.
Okay.
And they come to me like normal 13 to 16-year-olds, like for food and money. Every now and then I will get a small sliver of, like, my son goes to Loyola, and this is, he was out all last year because of COVID, and they're here. And last night we're just talking, and, I'm just trying to be quiet because I'm a talker, but I try to be quiet with him. And he just out of the blue said, I wonder what my life would be like if I had my dad. And of course, tears shoot to my eyes, and I want to be like, well, it wouldn't be that. And I just sat there, and we just sat there, and he looked at me and he said, good job. Good job.
That's amazing.
And I was like, thank you. And he's like, yeah. And then he just kind of talked about what he thought it might be like if he had a dad. And what he got to at the end, and I didn't say a word, which is so hard for me, he said, I really miss Dad, and I bet I'd be an amazing man if he was here right now. But I see some other dads and how hard they are on their sons, and I think, wow, what freedom I have that no one is coaching me, berating me, encouraging. It's hard. The father-son is hard, just like the mother-daughter's hard. And what I've learned is when I listen to them, they come full circle on their own. Really, all we have to do for people is just be there with them. I mean, and I'm not good at that, but I'm definitely working on it.
That's inspiring, because that's something I've had to learn as well. I think I learned it from my mom, which it's a gift as well.
It is a
solutions, gift. Like, cool, I love solutions, but sometimes people just need space.
Yeah. So we ask now in our family, do you want support or do you want solutions? And that's really helped give words to it. So like when they come home from school, I can't believe this teacher was so awful, and I don't like that girl, and I'm like, do you want support or solutions? Like, just support. I say that, oh my God, I can hear that teacher sounds really hard and that girl sounds really mean. And they're like, yeah, thanks. And then sometimes they're like, we're in a problem. We need a solution. So that's kind of given us language that helps us navigate where they need help. Or they'll be like, I need help, Mom. I need a therapist. And I'm like, she's on speed dial. Don't you worry. Got her. She'll be on in 30 minutes. So it's gotten much better. It's gotten lighter. It's really, really heavy. Death and grief feels like you are under a boulder of hell.
Are you guys still in therapy?
No, everybody does different stuff. My daughter is now in fully because she's 13. So I don't think you can really tap in. When she was too little, like I'd have her go and they'd be like drawing a stick figure of her dad dying. And I was like, this isn't worth $150. Like I can draw with her at home. Like and we waited till she had words because therapy is really, for her, it was about talking about it. And for a long time, she didn't even understand what had happened. She's like, where did dad go? There was a lot of like, wait, what happened that day? And she was 9. And I wasn't there. So there was trauma on the fact that they were alone too. So now she talks about it. Jack is as practical as a human being could become. And he's like, my father died. I did counseling for a year. He's a 1 on the Enneagram. He's like, I handled everything exactly as I should. And now I'm going to go get a good education and go to college and be a man. Like, he's like, I've already talked about it. And he's the type of kid that if he wanted to talk about it again, he would come and talk to me and say,
great.
like, I need a counselor.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And I do all sorts of weird stuff. I'm like floating in tanks. I'm doing infrared sauna. I do yoga 3 times a week and I meditate an hour a day. That's my counseling now.
So besides meditation, what else have you done that you feel have been the most effective in your healing?
I stopped drinking pretty soon after he died because I found that every time I'd have like a tequila soda, it would just, the depression, like alcohol is a depressant. So it wasn't safe for me to drink the first couple of years because it would just trigger all the pain. Now I drink red wine, which is that works for me. I think you have to trust, your body knows like what it needs. I've changed that. I eat really clean and I eat, there's just things that can cause me to be anxious. So I'm pretty rigid. Somebody was talking about the book and they're like, so you just kind of fly by the seat of your pants? I was like, nope, opposite. I'm pretty rigid about my life now. I wake up at a certain time. I meditate. I do yoga all before the kids get up. I eat very well and very little meals because when I get full, I can get anxious. I mean, I'm a mess. Like I'm crazier than I look. No, but I have rituals now that I know bring me peace. I know I need time alone. I know I need time in nature. I spend a lot of time walking, like a lot, like a crazy person. What else do I do? Yoga to me is probably one of the most important practices I have because it takes me about 20 minutes to get out of my head. But then when I do, I'm off to the races and I feel like a new person. So that's kind of a non-negotiable. My girlfriends are a non-negotiable.
You have a really good circle of friends, it looks like.
I have an amazing group of friends from high school and from here. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I always encourage people to have a community. I think a lot of women tend to, after they get married, they don't nurture other parts of their life.
Yeah.
Or kids too.
Yeah.
Right?
I think because Nate and I married so young, we always had friends and we acted as if we were still in college. So he'd go out with his friends, I'd go out with mine. I think it's harder as you get older. The groups break up, there's drama between people, but our girlfriends really, like my girlfriends saved me. They're my people. And some of them drive me insane, but we tell each other, because we're all so different now. But yeah, I'm a huge advocate for friends. You don't need a ton. I think every woman needs 3. Yeah. You need 3 best friends that just like, they're there.
Yeah. They'll show up. They're like middle of the night.
They're anytime, anywhere, yes. 400 texts a day. It doesn't matter. You don't bug me. Like just go in for it. Yeah.
So you had mentioned that you have started dating again.
Boy, have I ever. I'm really getting up out there.
Yeah. What are the... Well, because
my husband would want me to. I can hear him. He's like, get out there. That guy slept with like hundreds of people before me. So I was like, I can hear him just being like, what? Like, make a move, sister. And I'm like, I'm old.
Okay. Because a lot of my listeners, they're divorced and it's like, it's like landing on Mars, like this new dating landscape. There's apps now. Like, what's the etiquette? There is no etiquette. It's disgusting.
God, all you out there, I wish I could give you some advice, but I'm just telling you, it's brutal out there.
Well, you just have to start. I mean, you have to
force yourself. But I hate when married people say like, just get out there. Because I'm like, if you had to get out there, you would die. Because it is so disgusting. After you've been with someone that to have to swipe and then like have some awkward texting conversation. I mean, it feels like a little death inside of me each time I do it. I do believe the universe will bring you people that through your friends and through experiences. I know the apps are recommended by married people. I do know that because every married person's like, let me just swipe, But when you have to swipe, and you know you've got to go meet some like weirdo from Culver City at a coffee shop on a Tuesday. It takes everything in your soul to not just die a little bit. But I do try. What I found is just like the best thing that works for me on those apps is to introduce myself as like, I'm just looking for some cool people to hang out with because I'm in a world of married people. Literally, in my town in El Segundo, I think there's like 3 people that aren't married, and all of us are widows. So it's been, I actually met the guy I dated for quite a long time on Bumble. And so maybe God works through Bumble too. I don't know. Maybe the angels are on the apps. I have no idea.
It's just another method of meeting people.
That's so hard, but it is. You just try. And then I think if you have like out of 20 weirdos, and there are some weirdos,
you have to sift through.
Oh boy, there's a lot of sifting.
Yeah.
And then the worst is like when they show up and you're just like, you've got to be kidding me. It's hard because they look nothing like anything that you thought. And everyone says they're 6 feet. Everyone's 5'8". Like I've decided you have to minus 5 inches.
It's I have found if they're below 6 feet, that's when they lie.
6.
But if they're above 6 feet, it's usually accurate.
6 feet, 6 feet's like everyone's height, which is not possible. That's what I realized. Like everyone's not 6 feet in LA.
I don't get why people would lie.
Because I won't swipe over somebody. I will not swipe.
But it's wasting your time because it's not accurate.
But maybe they think they're gonna like wow you with their short personality. I don't know.
No, but wouldn't you think like I don't want this person to be disappointed when they see me?
I know, too late because we were. I don't know what to tell them. That's the thing. Like if you lie, I don't know. Like I don't know. It's awful. It's bad. I'm a bad advocate of apps.
Do you if you've never met the person, do you FaceTime with them before?
No.
Wouldn't that save time though?
Oh God, it's so cringy. God, no.
But because if that's a no, then you don't have to meet up with them.
I'm dating this guy now that he was introduced to me by friends, and he sent a text and he said, I would have loved to have called you like a gentleman, but it's a little late, and I didn't want to be like a Scream Nell. What's like something from the movie Scream, where like I scared you, I called you too late at night or something. That joke went badly, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was like, I'd like to call you, like we never texted. He's just like, let's talk tomorrow. It soothed my soul on every level. Like a man's man that wants to speak to me on the phone, have a normal conversation. It was like, that's where I have to be. I can't do I can't do the app texting, and because it's awkward. You don't know when do we roll off onto like you give me my cell phone. I don't know, what if you're a murderer? I'm always worried about murders. Murdering is the worst. You don't want to get murdered from an app. That's the first rule that people don't ever talk about. Don't let them kill you. So, I mean, I do the apps. I'm 44. I have a 13 and a 16-year-old. And I believe strongly in God and in the universe. And I swear, if he can make the world go round, he can find me the person and bring me there, not through my phone. I just really believe that. I believe that if I just hold what I want, there is a man out there that Nate, if he's a good man, and I've said a lot of nice things about him, he is working hard too to find me someone. So I trust that more than I trust the apps. But I still, if I'm bored at night, I'll just swipe.
Normally, I recommend, like if you feel pretty good, the swiping's not bad. But if you don't feel good, it's depressing.
And it's depressing when you're like nobody, because Bumble is the worst because then you have to start, but they have it. It's like the feminist one, so you get to pick. And I'm like, I'd rather them pick me, and then I decide if I like them or not. It just, I don't know.
Everyone's different.
You probably have like a really smart way of like encouraging your listeners to go on apps, and I probably just ruined all of that. Sorry.
No, I mean the whole goal is just to feel good, whatever feels good to you. And if the app doesn't feel good to you, just
bars feel better for me.
Then
what feels better for me is going somewhere where there's music and a glass of red wine and seeing a guy and being like having that moment where you're like, I think I like you. That feels better for me. I think getting out of your house is more important than swiping.
That's a good point.
Like I think if
that is a good point.
If you're at home on the apps waiting for someone to touch your soul, you might as well just get out and go. I mean, my brother gets laid all the time in Florida. He just goes and sits at a bar. And then some woman ends up talking to him. And next thing you know, that guy's going home with somebody. I've never seen anything like it. But I think what he does is he goes out.
Yeah, you have to go out and be around people.
You have to get dressed. You have to put on something cute. And you have to just force yourself out. And that's always more fun than forcing yourself to text somebody on an app.
That's a really good point.
There you go. Look at that genius advice from that. I never go out there, but I'm starting to. I force myself, and then you gather momentum.
Do you include your kids in your dating process?
It's a great question. I did with the first man I met after about a year after Nate died. It was early, very, very early. But I first of all, he's an amazing man. He's still a best friend, has ushered me through some of the hardest years of my life. We are not together anymore. We haven't been for about a year and a half. But I did introduce him to the kids. It was too early for them. It was really hard. It was hard for him. It was hard for them. It was hard for me. It took a toll on everything. I needed someone to take care of me a little bit because everybody I knew loved Nate. So everybody around me was grieving, especially my children. So I didn't have anyone, and his parents were devastated. My parents were devastated for me. Everybody was broken. And so when he came along, he was there for me, and he kind of held my pain for, a year and a half. But the integrating of him into my life was really challenging. And I think it hurt a lot of people. It hurt him. It hurt me. It hurt the kids. And I wouldn't change it because I needed him around. But I would say now I'm going to be much more discreet because the kids are older. They were little too. So I didn't have any help. So they'd know when I'd go. I mean, if I wanted to go out, I had to have my mom come over. Now they're gone. They have their own lives. So I can be out till 2 a.m. and I don't have to explain myself. So I have a lot more freedom. My son is like, please find someone. God, will anybody ever take you off my hands? And I'm like, listen, buddy. And then my daughter's much more able. She's much more open to just like, don't make me move. Her big thing is like, I'm not going to have some like stinky stepsister. And I was like, listen, lady, I'm not getting married. Like, you're not going to have any problem. She's like worried if we're going to like parent trap her or something. But it's much easier now. They both want me to be happy more than anything. All your kids want is for you to be happy. And that's when you have one dead parent, they already have a very unhappy parent that's dead because they're dead. They want you to carry the joy. They want your house to be normal. They literally just want it to be normal. So that's pretty much what I focus on every day.
Okay. And so just say, I mean, you're dating someone now and just say it starts to get
like 3 weeks. Yeah, but I really like him.
Okay. Awesome. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Here's to us.
Okay. So just say something becomes long-term.
Mm-hmm.
At what point do you think you'd like to introduce them to the kids, and how do you have these conversations with your kids?
Just brutally, honestly.
And then how do you think they would respond?
Brutally, honestly. No, I feel like we're so much better at talking now because we've had such awfully hard conversations that I think at this point, what I always say is like, we're all on a path. Like, you guys are graduating soon. Like, I need a life. You need a life. We all need a life. We all need to respect each other and what this nuclear family is, but we also need to be open that like, Dad died when I was 40. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life by myself. You guys have big lives. I want to fall in love again. We don't have to, everybody doesn't have to like each other or understand it, but we all need to respect that each one of us is fighting for joy in our own way. And for me, that would be finding a partner. Although the funny part is I'm really, for the first time since Nate's been gone, okay on my own. It's funny how that works too. It always works that way. I enjoy my kids. I enjoy my life. I don't have to find somebody. For the first time in my life, and I've been married my whole life, so I never was alone. I mean, I met Nate my sophomore year in college, and I had a high school boyfriend. I like 1 year of my life. I'm a Cancer too. I'm a relationship person. But yeah, I think I would tell them when it was serious enough that I wanted to do stuff with us as a group. That's probably when, like, right, in the beginning, you're kind of just like on your own. But if I wanted to like go on vacation or do something with his kids and my kids, that's probably when.
Got it.
I'm sure it would be awkward. I'm sure it'll be. I see other families do it really well. I'm like, are their kids weird or my kids weird? I don't know.
Oh. I think like you said, communication's key.
Yeah.
Because my parents, when they split, there was no communication.
Mine too.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden there's just like, my mom's like, I'm gonna date our friend Don, I'm gonna date him, and one day he's just in the house, and we're like, this is so awkward. It was so awkward. I think
Don. You're like,
that's what it felt like. Yeah. And so I wish it would have been less awkward if she just communicated better, but I know everyone's doing the best that they can.
We all say that, but I always tell my kids, but you could do better. Just so you know, like, I love that saying, but it's not working for me. Yeah.
But yeah, I remember because I was around your kids' age, like 12, 13. I just remember, I'm like, this is so awkward. Can you please just talk? Like, I just wish they would have Just tell me.
Yeah. The weird thing for my kids is like if a man touches me, they're like, oh, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, listen, you little hormonal weirdos. Like, we do it too. We do it too. And I'm doing it more than I did with your dad because you know what? He was a lot of man. And that got tiring. And the kids are like, I'm dying inside. No, I think kids too are much more aware now because of social media and all the blah, blah, blah that we all know. They just get it. And there's so many people divorced and there's so many people remarried.
Yes.
I mean, marriage is so on the way out. It's not even funny. Like,
I mean, I like that there's more normalcy in
there's so
many ways to do it.
There's so many ways. And it's not, I think everyone has to build it the way they want now because there's not, women don't have to be married. We don't need it financially.
Yeah.
Men don't need to be validated by like, well, obviously, because none of them can do anything around the house. So that's gone.
Oh my gosh.
The death of a man has definitely happened. So you start to think, what are they good for?
Yeah. In your book, you had mentioned when you were talking about putting together IKEA furniture. This
This
is such a weird thing because in my mind, I always thought like, of course the guy's going to be better at that than me. But with us, I'm like, how am I more capable than you?
In everything.
Yes.
And actually, let me check.
So-
in everything.
So
I just realized.
because I mean, for any of you women out there who have this expectation, you'll be disappointed because we are so capable now. And a lot of them just suck at like
Everything.
using tools. Yeah.
Did I keep saying that? Everything. You know what it is? I think our generation is the first generation of women that had tons of choices and tons of opportunities. We went to college. We got jobs. We make our own money. Our mothers and our grandmothers did not. So men still did a lot. We have now bulldozed the shit out of these men.
Yeah.
Because we're so driven. We're so much faster.
Yeah.
And now they're lost. And now they're going to have a reawakening.
Yeah.
Because they literally don't know what they're supposed to do anymore. And actually, whenever I've been dating, we talk about this because women are so big now. We're so strong. Or I mean, I'm sure there's women that are more passive, but the group I hang out with, like, watch out. And we'll tell you all the things we don't like about you as quickly as possible. You know, these poor men, they just take a beating. But I do think changing your whole view around the relationships and marriage and I write about this in the book too. Like when Nate died, I spent so much time annoyed with him when he was alive, like every good woman should with their husband. You know, I felt like he didn't do enough. He didn't help enough. Same thing everyone talks about on like a wine night. But when he died, I wasn't mad about doing any of those things anymore because I was mad that I wasn't mad about doing it. I wanted him to do it. But when he was dead, he couldn't do it. So I wasn't mad anymore. So I'm a lot less angry now because I have no expectation because he's in heaven, which is so hard to help with the trash. Because it's just such a long.
Only you would make me laugh about something.
I'm like, hey, can you get down here? It's Thursday, and he's like, I'm actually in heaven, like working on other things, and so I take the trash out. But I don't feel any anger, and I wish I could have been like that when I was with him. Because he used to always say, like, I'm doing my best, and I'd always say, your best isn't good enough, which is so encouraging. But I did feel that way. I was like, why can't you keep up? And they can't. And so it's how do we find out in men what is their gift that we are missing while we're yelling at them all the time?
Yeah. It's totally mindset. It's more so it's less about the other person. Of course, you want to do your best to choose someone compatible, shared values, whatever.
Like asterisk, choose a nice guy.
Whatever.
Right.
But it's more about your mindset because if I wanted to find every crappy thing that I wanted to about Pete, my husband, I could.
Right.
It's miserable and it's so mean to them. So if I'm in a good place and you practice gratitude, I love like a gratitude journal and having that mindset. And when I watch people in happy marriages, I watch how the women show up with their men.
Yeah.
You know, they're happy, they're grateful, they see the good.
Yes.
That is what is required.
And these men need that.
Yeah.
And they deserve it because they are good men, especially like if you marry a good man, their hearts are so good. They operate differently than us as we do them.
Yes.
And I think we've tried to, you know, as we've fought for women's rights and for the ability to have the access to everything that they have, we've tried to equalize everything, but they're different creatures.
Yeah. That's all it is. It's different.
They're
not
just
better,
different. Yeah. And we all deserve the same access and the same everything. But I think anybody expecting each of us to know what the other one wants is insane. And I'll never do that again. I'll never mother a partner again.
That's a tough one. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's something I've had to learn because it's so when you get into that space, it's not sexy.
It's a sex kill for sure. When you're like, did you and you know what you need to do at work is send that email and that's your problem. And oh God, and you're just like, you hate yourself. And you're like, boy, I must be annoying to listen to.
Yeah.
Because it's awful in my head.
Right. to learn to
Mhm.
zip it
Mm-hmm.
and just let them do them. But I mean, sometimes it's necessary. I will say there's a few times like
Every day, but
I,
less every day.
I'm learning to like, is this really important that it's done your way?
Yeah, I do think, and I wrote in the book too, Nate and I did imago therapy. I think counseling tools, this would be my key takeaway about hard things in life, relationships. Like anybody that's doing well in life is not winging it. I promise you that. They are not just like cool people that are just figured it out. No, they're fucking working really hard every day to be the person that you see. So they're journaling, they're praying, they're meditating, they're sitting down with their spouse and listening and trying to change, and they're taking responsibility for their stuff. But it's a full-time job to not be an asshole at this point in life because we're all so overwhelmed and living in our own bubble. So I think it's important that people realize if you're in a relationship, like it deserves as much work as your kids deserve, as much as your job deserves. Like it should be a priority, and not like date night priority. I'm talking digging in. Like, what do you want from me? What do you want for the next 10 years?
Yeah.
Where are we headed?
Yeah.
Why are we still together?
Right.
Do you like anybody else? If so, why?
Yeah.
What can I move to? What can you move to? Like, I remember we did this therapy and they said you have to fall in love like 6 different times with the same person because you're just different.
Yeah.
You're so different after every experience in your life. So you can't just stay the same. And you just have to really respect the person you're with and be like, you know what? Like I always say in the book, there's nobody I would rather hate than Nate. You know, like I wouldn't have wanted to be annoyed by anybody but him. You know, so.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think we're running out of time.
God, that went quick.
It does. I know I can talk to you for a really long time. Well, you'll have to come back next time. We can do the pajama thing.
I talk too much.
God. No, I like that you talk because sometimes. Have you ever interviewed a guest where they don't talk much?
No, because I talk the whole time when I'm with the guest too. What are you talking about? I have a disease.
For me, it could be like pulling teeth when they don't talk enough,
death.
right?
No.
Like what? Is there anything else you'd like to mention? Well, actually, okay. So your book is available on Amazon.
It's available on Amazon. That's where like all the reviews, so you can kind of see it. It's also available on Target.com. It's on Barnes & Noble. That's all. August 30th was the launch. And you can go to www.secondhalfbook.com. And my Instagram is Kelsey, D as in dog, Chittick. Whatever that handle, that's a handle, Kelsey D. Chittick. And yeah, we're just kind of over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be launching the book, and I'm doing a bunch of book tours, and I'm going to a bunch of places and on podcasts. And my hope with this book is just like if there's anybody that needs it, they get it, because I know for me, there was probably 5 or 6 books that changed my life during this process. There's something about a book when you're in pain that is a gift because you can sit with it, you can process it, and you know someone else made it. So that's my hope. Thanks for having me.
Kelsey did promise too that if you go to her Instagram, she'll actually post stuff.
I'm gonna start posting. I have an aversion to social media that I'm working through in counseling, along with other things. But yes, I'm gonna start posting about it. And getting it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely, because when you were doing a lot of stand-up and stuff, I never even knew when your shows were. Like, I wanted to come. I'm like, where is she performing? Yeah. I don't know. She doesn't talk about it.
This is a disorder that I have to look into, but I have so many others ahead of this one. That I'm like, well, yeah. No, I really care about this book. I care about my husband. He was amazing. His story deserves to be told, if anybody's does, and my kids' story deserves to be told because they're pretty amazing in what they've been through. So I will do what I can to make sure people get it because I think it might help people.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.